reaction to Benjamin doing the currently exploiting the no sandbag to make the fight 0% easier. Ben has done Lilith now for the third time. The first two, a lot of people were discrediting because he used bug stats and bug skills and stuff like infinitely scaling damage. And this is, and I don't actually think he's doing any bugs now. Right. He's doing a lot of damage. Wait, did he show how much life he had? Using hands equals exploit. So can he actually tank something now? Somebody said yesterday that he can actually tank waves. He's actually critting for so much damage. Yeah, 3 out of 9 potions. I guess he doesn't. Huh.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage.
Wait, what's the skill with 4 charges? Is that Rend? Play. Right. It's so hard for Stork to do this fight because you don't have a good way to deal with the you don't have a good way to deal with the blood blisters.
Yes.
For those that don't know, Lilith has a stacking debuff. That's the 12 we see to the left of the V. And every time she hits you with anything, like even her small moves, you're taking more damage from future attacks. So that is like a soft enrage, because eventually you would probably be getting one shot by auto attacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's done this quite a lot now. Now do remember he's using a cheat death, so he can get one shot once and then leave. Obviously, that still makes it quite hard because she has a lot of one shots. So when you've seen him do it in the past, even when he was using bug seals with infinite damage, there was still a lot of dodging and he would stay in the fight for a long time. He's building stagger up permanently with bleed, slowing, and taunt shout. Right. You see like very perfect movement here, even though he's doing a crazy amount of damage. She like leaves the arena so much. Can't even do damage a large amount of time, and she's super tanky. Yeah, this is Echo of Lilith. Hatred incarnate.
Too many suppressors.
Super hard.
I can do damage here.
And obviously there's not like a good reason to kill her right now. You get a mount skin. A lot of damage. You get a mount skin and she doesn't really drop anything. Well, he probably means that he wish fights were more like this. He probably doesn't mean that he wishes endgame dungeons one-shot your character. Oh, there was a little gear swap there.
The worst pack possible.
See what that was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's switching to the Butcher's Cleaver. Huh. I guess that's to build, dagger. Wow. Wait, did he insta-stagger her? Did he instantly knock her down? She doesn't have a stagger bar here. He needs it to clear the pools. Right. Oh. Wow. Actually taking a lot of damage. Like, even with a very strong build, there's so much dodging and evading. You see that the stacks reset between the 2 stages. And here you have to stand on the crumbling until the bottom part is done. If not, you start taking heavy dot damage, which takes you out pretty fast. They're firing projectiles at you. Wow. Run in a circle, Path of Exile tag. Oh wow. Everything hurts so much. But yeah, nothing is unintended or bugged here. It's just a strong build. And we've seen a Rogue do it as well. Rogue does it slightly faster. What's he on about? Well, he probably thinks we're watching the other 2 kills where he was using bugs with the infinite damage scaling.
Yeah, we
This
friend.
is no such thing. This is just pure skill. I really like how overtuned she is and that she's so hard to kill. I do wish that she had like really cool gear things like Shaco and stuff. This is hardcore, yeah. You have one shot protection, and after that you have to leave. I mean, as we can see at the moment, he has not died. Like, he hasn't lost his one shot protection. Being like, what actually happens while you're in cheat death and you're on a platform that falls down? Does the cheat death save you from the platform, or does that go through cheat death?
Well, if you go out of the platform, it's kind of your
You
fault.
take more damage from Lilith. Every time she hits you, it goes up. You don't want to get hit. Oh wow. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you just outright die. Platform falling is death. Wow. Yeah, it's such a short damage window. You have very, very little opportunity to hit her. And so many things kill you. And she's so tanky. This is a very high damage build. This is on hardcore, yeah. This is the first non-bug kill. He's already done it twice before with bug skills. Oh my god, he went low. Wow, I thought it was capped at 99 stacks. Yeah, you're seeing now that like every auto attack is starting to do large amounts of damage to him. It really does have a soften range. Oh, he got stuck on something. Hitting her gives you pots. He takes 2 times damage from her. Ooh. I actually really like the platform thing they've done. I really like it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love that in games, personally.
Yes. The fight is fun.
In my opinion, this is like softcore with Elixir and Scroll. It isn't though. When she's sober.
No, it's not. I would try Lily anytime in softcore, I would never try it in hardcore.
How is there anywhere to stand?
Maybe at the end of a league, but...
Like, if he goes to 0 once, he's out.
Yes.
He has to start all over again. Oh wow! So cheat death is procced now, so that means if he dies, it's over. So he stayed in with cheat death down.
Let's fucking go! Should I talk about it or just show it? You want to see it? You want to talk?
Just show it.
We talk. Hoda. Life, Fury, and CDR. These things are OP. The 4th mod doesn't really matter that much. I just stopped on % armor because it was the best one.
Elixir never CC'd
That
in
I
this fight.
saw. I think it's fine. It's okay with the imprint for DR with basic skills, which we're always pressing with Hoda with Flay, because you're always going back and forth on Hoda versus Flay. Triple DR chest with armor. Disobedience is a mandatory
saying
aspect
damage
and everything.
resist
It's
is
super
just too
OP.
crazy.
DR from close and bleeding. I'd rather that DR with close be DR fortified, so it's more reliable when I'm running from the boss, but I don't have enough gold to roll it, so we stopped on that. These are the normal Hoda gloves. Attack speed crit, lucky, +4 Hoda. I went with an imprint to do more damage, or have increased crit versus things that are injured, in combination with other things that are more damage to injured, because the boss fight has, but in both phases, it's harder at lower HP values, especially in phase 2, so we want to get crit cap in phase 2 with that.
There is no revive potion.
Distant, fortify, close. Things are fine. I think I'd rather have bleeding instead of distant, if that even rolls on pants. Just life with Fury generated at max Fury grants fortify. It's important to have that, so if you take damage in health pot while running away from things, you have a way to generate fortify without relying on the Paragon node.
Yeah, the gold plus are
Fury.
insane.
I'm using life gems in my gear. I think it's correct. I did some napkin math on it
18,000 life. My sword could 10k.
And sapphires were like the equivalent of about 100 more HP worth of defense, but only while fortified. So I opted to go for the more consistent life option instead. needed the dex to activate a paradigm mode. Aside from that, move speed, quick insurrection, berserk duration. It's gonna be on every pair of boots. I've always played with +3 max evade the entire time on this character. I think it's just the best implicit on boss fights. It's for sure the best implicit. It's really important to have 4 evade charges to dodge waves in phase 1 and fireballs and everything, and like the slam combo in phase 2. Big mace, big stick. The normal stats that you have on every single build, you know, crit, roll, stats and stuff.
813 power level. I think mine's 806.
You go for the max fury or the damage when you're like overcupping your fury because it's just the best. You're always rotating.
84 all stats.
And flay.
A crazy weapon.
A lot of Hoda builds I've seen don't play this imprint. Crit with core gives you more attack speed. I think it's good and you should always play it.
Right.
Both weapons are the same, just crit, vol, and core, and then stats.
I had that for a while on mine.
Imprint because
on bow.
We're always rotating flay for fury and Hoda, so that's more dam. Using this Hoda power, it's really annoying to use, but if you aim off center from the boss and hit it with the quake instead of with the Hoda, you do more damage. That's why you can see crits like 20 mil.
See, like every piece of gear has
stats as every other item in the game. Crit, vol, and core strength.
Because of vol, it's kind of like limited what you can do.
Who would have guessed? I'm using the shout rings that give things to your shouts. Very original. You'll notice I have life on like every single item that can roll life.
Yeah.
Because it's good. In this game, typically you can always scale enough damage to do what you want to do, but you can only get defense in certain slots, and you always want to get that defense for any content.
Hey, look,
Resource gen in one ring. I think I would have rather had it on both rings instead of this Vuln, but I never acquired that ring. I think
it's pretty perfect.
In a perfect world, you have life, crit, resource gen on both rings. Max Fury on rings is really bad. On Hoda, it's not worth it at all. Super OP neck. +3 heavy-handed, Fury cost reduction, CDR and move speed.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I want to try it on Rogue. I want to try it on ranged Rogue. I've seen a, what do you call it? Twisting Blades Rogue do it on softcore. And I do think, obviously, that can be replicated on hardcore. I really didn't like Twisting Blades. I really want to try to do it with bow. I think that'd be very fun. I don't think I've seen anyone do it with bow so far, and I'd love to do that. So see if I can do that.
Yeah, I don't like Twisting Blade either.
Crazy hard right now, very overtuned, and doesn't drop a lot, but I do want the mount. I don't know if pen shot's the best. But yeah, wow, that's crazy. Huge props to Ben for doing that. Very, very impressive.
Yes.
Hope you guys enjoyed watching it, and
GG,
hopefully within 2 weeks I'll have a kill myself up of doing it. Crazy how fast he was able to do it too. So, very impressive. Either way, enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. And yeah, sub if you liked the video.
Why am my minion dying? Not so much damage. I don't know.
All right.
Is this 24, like I said?
Sorry, that's not what we were watching.
Vanilla WoW is back. And it's not just hardcore. Again? Yep, they brought it back. They're calling it Classic. Guys, I gotta tell you, I don't think it's a surprise. Classic WoW got really popular at the exact same time that Old War came out. I don't think it's a fucking coincidence. I don't think so. I think it just...
Sorry.
I think we all know why that happened.
Over the past few months, much of the talk
Why do they all have suppressor in this dungeon?
Yeah, it sure
has. A ton
has.
of people have been trying it out and seeing what makes it so
My mages are useless.
And though we do now have official servers confirmed, their release is still sometime later this summer, leaving much to be discussed as to what will or will not be allowed. But it's not just the hardcore scene that has witnessed a revival on the class.
I feel like not enough warlocks use a wand. Wand is just so strong with your dots up, and you don't have to worry about mana at all.
Classic servers. I feel as though this has very much fallen to the wayside, but regular classic era servers are seeing a huge boom in players. And no, it's not just people semi-AFKing on their bug mounts with Thunder Furies in capital cities, though there are certainly a lot of them. It's people coming back for battlegrounds, open world PvP, raiding, and leveling.
Imagine that. Classic WoW is a good game. Who could have ever predicted such a thing?
entirely new characters. Despite every issue that there is with a server stuck on the last phase of content with a promise of no further updates, people are willing to come back and hit that new character button and just start over again. It seems clear to me that it's not just hardcore players who are making a home in vanilla once again, and I believe both crowds are after something which cannot be achieved by one singular new server release.
Well, the reason why people like Classic WoW is that it's a living, breathing MMO in a way that no other MMO is. Classic WoW is a game that the leveling experience genuinely matters.
Yes.
Getting really cool gear, everybody can see it. There's no microtransactions or any kind of bullshit.
Yep.
OSRS, yeah, I can't speak to that. I haven't played that enough to like really have an opinion on it.
Saying is, even though we have the hardcore servers
there's
confirmed,
no
which
transmog.
is great and all, is it also time?
Yeah, like you can see it, and it's so cool, right? This guy's got the PvP gear. Let's see, this dude right here, those are the tier 1 shoulders. That's the tier 2 shoulders for warriors. That axe, I think, is the axe from BWL. That's the tier 2.5 shoulders for shamans. There's the staff from Nefarian. There's the shoulders from tier 2 for mage. There's the fucking, obviously the 2.5 shoulders for warrior with Lionheart helm. And then obviously Bone Reaver's Edge. You've got, of course, the full Dreadnought warrior with Thunder Fury and the Face of Death. And so you can easily see what every single thing is, right? And that's awesome.
No changes-ish 2019 Vanilla Classic Fresh. In today's video, I'll be checking out the growth of non-hardcore servers, going into why people are choosing to revisit them now, and ultimately why Blizzard should consider more than just the hardcore servers for the good of the game. Let's go back though. Imagine how it was in 2019. Classic World of Warcraft is finally releasing. You've cleared your entire calendar for 2 weeks. You have your healthy diet of Doritos and Mountain Dew prepared. You're physically and mentally ready to smash this game. And you are a ripe young age of 28. To go back to Sim.
Oh, God, bro. Was I 28? Oh, God, I was 28 when it came out. No, I was 29. I was 29. Yeah, I was 29.
Oh.
I was 28 when the beta came out, though.
Poor Asmon.
Times. I guess really none of this should have been a surprise. Vanilla has been popular seemingly forever now, and even compared to TBC and Wrath of the Lich King, it really does offer a totally unique experience.
Yeah, it does.
40-man raids, world buffs, no flying, insane stacking of buffs,
joke-ass raids that are so fucking easy you could do them with your monitor off. Please, can we acknowledge the fact that's why it was so popular?
Yes.
Because the raids were so fucking easy.
If you know them.
Class balance, PvP ranking, a huge open world, and so much more. You probably heard some of those and recoiled at the thought of going back to it. Others are waiting for a chance to go back and do them all again. If you can say one thing about Vanilla is that it really doesn't try to cater to everyone. And if somebody hates something,
yes.
I think it does cater to everyone.
No, it doesn't. Is that
people find
no. Asmon is wrong about this. Like, I love his take most of the time, but about this is wrong. Vanilla is a good game because it doesn't cater to everyone. And it's a problem actually Diablo 4 is having. They try to cater to everyone, to casual and the hardcore gamer, and both of them are unhappy right now. Me personally, I think it's a good game. But they say it's a casual game, but leveling to 100 is like longer in Path of Exile. Who, by the way, is an hardcore game, and doesn't try to please to casual players, and that's why it's so successful too. So you can please everyone, so you need to find your public, and yeah. So that's what WoW Vanilla is good, and that's why retail is bad. I guess it's better now. I didn't try the last expansion, so by the way, it's the only expansion in my life I didn't play for WoW, but I was too tired of bad expansion, and I was like, I'm not gonna give this game a chance anymore. But yeah, for all the extension before that, yeah, they try to please everyone, and everything is generic then. Like, anyway.
To do inside of the game, and they can do that. That's what makes it good.
That loves it. Even still, it's kind of amazing how many people are going back to these servers, and it's always difficult to know exactly how popular any realm is, given we don't have official numbers from Blizzard, but there are some ways we can estimate it. Even just logging into a server and eyeballing it is a reasonable starting point.
Sure.
I did a walk through Stormwind and Orgrimmar between around 8:30 AM to 8:45 on a Wednesday morning. Also, there were no world buffs dropping at this point in time. If I'm making a video about these servers being popular, this is potentially one of the worst times I could have possibly picked to get a view of lots of people being logged in.
I mean, this is way more people than you see in a retail WoW server, and those are cross-realm.
Yeah. But are they sharded in retail? I think they are sharded.
Leveling zones or just throughout the world. This was on the Firemore.
So somebody says somebody says retail is good. People are just too brain dead for its own good. If they simplified it to this again, WoW could be popping. Yeah, retail WoW is too hard. It's too hard. Like, the game's too fucking hard. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say.
No, that's
like, and it might not be too hard. And again,
no. Objectively, vanilla is harder than. Well, it depends on what you say. PvE content is harder in retail, right? But I don't think that matters a lot because most of people in vanilla, they just level, right? I know a lot of people who have never played a raid in vanilla and they still play vanilla. Yeah, they do 5-man dungeons, like their favorite dungeon is Stratholm or shit like this. But they never did Molten Core or stuff like this or Onyxia. So I don't think it's really an issue. Like, there is a lot of content to do in retail if you don't want to do the hard raids. Or mythic dungeon, or you can do a lot of stuff. But a lot of stuff is boring and kind of mandatory, and that's why retail sucks.
An expert wizard, okay? You are an expert wizard. You understand the game's nuances. You are good at the game. You care about the game. But can we please fucking acknowledge that this is not the majority of people? It's still way too fucking hard.
My bad.
Round cluster on Europe, by the way. There isn't even anything weird going on here with people from different time zones being online now. These are the classic era non-hardcore realms in the morning on a weekday. And dare I say it, this looks pretty good to me. I mean, if Stormwind looked like this on a morning during actual Classic, I'd be kind of happy with it. And I don't have an active NA account to go and check, but I'm told their most active server cluster is Whitemane, and it's quite a similar story. Also, in case you are wondering...
I don't have my minions, so I'm gonna do no damage.
I suppose I should mention this now, but servers on Error are linked together. So this will contribute to how many players you are meeting in the world. This happened sometime after Error servers were made to boost player encounters within the game. This is different from Merging 2, as you'll see players with their own name and then their realm name after. The PvE realms are less active.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's just how it is. Somebody says this. The old war raids I go to are still 4+ hours, and they can't kill full hard modes. People just aren't good at the game. Like, you're not wrong. It is so fucking sad.
I don't think that's true.
I have raided in Old War before, and I actually quit the game over it. I don't want to deal with it. It's not fun. And that's the same way I feel about retail.
Yeah, but it's because in retail you need to do this. If you didn't need to do those raids, the fact that they are hard would not be a problem. Like, look in Path of Exile. Killing Uber Shaper is kind of hard. Killing Uber Elder is kind of hard. I'm talking for the perspective of someone who starts the game, right? Your first league, you're not gonna kill Uber Shaper, Uber Aziri, Maiden, Sirius. Most likely not, unless you're a streamer or someone who plays 20 hours a day, right? But it's okay, because you have a lot of stuff to do in Path of Exile. You can map, you can delve, you can haste. All of this content is easy and accessible, right? So, having hard content is okay if you have something else to do that's also rewarding.
Wow. I don't want to raid in Mythic because people are just going to do it wrong. I don't want to do it. It's a waste of time. And like, I don't want to do an easier mode in retail WoW to get a shitty piece of gear that's not good. In Classic WoW, you do an easy raid and you get all the good gear. That's it. You get all the good gear, and that's it. It's that simple. I do World War 5X times a week, cleared under 2 hours. Am I the exception? Yeah. What do you mean? You think the norm is doing Old War 5 times a week? You think that's the norm?
In general, and are all linked together too, be it on EU or NA, so you can pick any of them if you want to play on PvE, it doesn't matter. The RP realms are not part of any cluster, which is why the hardcore players have gone there. Anyways, back over to Firemore. I went and had a check on the auction house to see whether...
Somebody says ICC is the best difficulty? Remember what remember what you had to do in Icecrown Citadel? Lord Marrowgar? This is what you had to do. Because remember, you didn't actually have to move away from the fire. Everybody would just stack on top underneath the boss. So hit boss and then move away whenever boss does spinny thing. And then after boss does spinny thing, hit boss again. And then whenever the spikes happen, do AoE and hit spikes. Death Whisper. Kill ads. Don't kill the big ads. Let the range kill the big ads. Then kill the boss. If the boss does the green thing on the ground, get out of the green thing.
Yeah,
then
but
kill the boss. Gunship.
that's fine, but
Go AFK until it's dead.
I think game
Sorry.
can have hard content
Kill the boss.
if the hard content is not mandatory
let's
to
see,
enjoy the game.
Festergut. Kill the boss.
If the hard content is not mandatory to enjoy the game, you don't need to do it. Like, it's more like of a challenge. Like, look, kind of in Diablo 4, I don't like this in Diablo 4, but killing Uber Lilith gives you nothing except a mount, okay? Like, you don't need to kill Uber Lilith to enjoy the game. I didn't kill Uber Lilith on any of my character. I plan of doing it before the Season 1 start, but for now I didn't. But I'm still enjoying the game. Because I don't need to kill her. Right? I'm not gonna get stronger if I kill her. I just get a mount. And that's okay. Like, I'll get an achievement, I guess, a mount, something like this. And yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. And I will go further than that. I think you should have a level 80 Lilith fight, like a normal Lilith for casual player, and keep the Uber Lilith where she is, right? And maybe the achievement should be different, and the mount should be different. Just for people, so they can experiment it. But maybe you can if you go in World 3, I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't try this, so... Yeah, so... I think what sucks is when the hard content becomes mandatory to progress your character.
Fucking Rotface. Kill the boss. If you have the debuff, move out of the raid. How many of the bosses are just kill the boss? Like, it's so fucking easy.
There were many items being posted and how much they were going for. There were some 30,000 items in total and some pretty reasonable or even cheap prices for things such as Arcane Crystal, Black Lotus, Elemental Earth or Fire and so on. I also had a character over on Golomag Horde to check out how things were looking for the reds. Golomag is on the same cluster as Firemore, by the way. Again, there were plenty of people occupying Orgrimmar and chilling on top of the bank. The auction house had nearly 25,000 items, and again, some pretty sensible prices. I also flicked through some leveling zones on /who for both Horde and the Alliance. And as suspected, there are a ton of players just doing some plain old vanilla WoW leveling. Starter zones were often capped or near enough showing 50 players, and the later game zones also had a decent number of players.
That's crazy to see 42 online players in the wetlands. That is a lot of people leveling.
Progressing too. This, to me, says there's pretty clearly a whole bunch of players who are just after the vanilla experience. They want to be able to do multiple dungeons, to trade, to group whenever, and if they die, they just resurrect and go on their merry way. And
exactly, yeah, that's the way most people want to do it. Retail raids are not hard. People just don't want to read through mechanics or watch quick YouTube videos on how to deal with it.
No, but people shouldn't have to watch YouTube video to play a game. That's fucking stupid. Like, my favorite game, like, I remember when I was playing The Forthcoming, it's my favorite game, right? It's the first MMORPG I play. I don't even know if it's an MMORPG because it was capped to I think it was 1,000 players per server, not online. 1,000 account per server or something like this. So at most you had 100 people online. So I don't know if you can say it's an MMORPG, but anyway, it's my favorite game, right? And at the time, yeah, you had the T4C Bible. It was a website with a lot of information, but it was not like a guide. It was more like an encyclopedia. Like, this is how the system work, or like this is what the stats on that item, and this is where you can farm it. More than a guide, how to kill this boss, how to kill this, or how to build your character, right? And I had like I don't know, I had stack of papers, and I had notes about some quests in the game. I had notes about the build I wanted to try. I still have them actually, and yeah, like it was a part of the game. Theory crafting and understanding the game was a part of the game. But today, for example, people are complaining about Diablo 4, but they know all the game before the game even launches. They know the builds they're gonna play, they know each talent point, each paragon point. They go on max roll, they copy the builds and don't ask themselves anything. If you enjoy the game like that, fine. But me personally, I don't. Like, I sure my build could be 10 times better if I took a guide or something that. But on the other way, maybe it's not optimized, maybe I don't do the most damage possible, but it's my build, so I'm happy about it. And it's the same with Fast of Exile, like, we can go two ways. You can play the latest meta build, or actually you can try a new build. Personally, that's what I do. And sometimes it doesn't fucking work. Like, 2 leagues ago, I made a character at the level 70, I couldn't clear a map. Like, and it's okay, I just made a new one. I couldn't respect because it was SSF, right? But I didn't have the currency to respect and all the items for that matter. But yeah, I still enjoy playing my character, even if it was a shitty build, right? It's part of the game.
You're right. You want to know what the guide for fucking patchwork is? Hit the boss. You want the guide for gluth? Hit the boss. And then hit the ads. But if you don't hit the ads, it's fine. Somebody else will do it. Thaddeus. Hit the boss and then move if you get the debuff. There is nothing that is even remotely close. Because, like, you also, like, I don't want to compare LFR to the classic raids. Because LFR doesn't give the best gear in the game, and the classic raids do. So you should compare heroic or mythic.
Yes.
Because that's what gives you good stuff.
Yes, and that's what I was saying. In classic, raids are accessible, right? And they give the best gear in the game. I wouldn't have a problem if they added, for example, mythic raid in classic, but if there was no difference in reward. The items, I mean. Maybe cosmetic, just to, like, as a challenge, like, I clear the mythic version. Because it gives inspiration for player. That's something they can, like in Path of Exile, the first time I killed Sirius, I was so fucking happy. Like, because I saw so many players who killed him, and it was my first time. Like, I died on him like a lot because I didn't understand the mechanics of the fight. The fight first time I tried it, and my build kind of sucks for this also. The first league I tried to kill him, but once I did, it was so gratifying, you know. So yeah.
way more chill than hardcore. You don't have to worry about losing your character or going again. You're happy to get a dungeon run going without that worry of being griefed. And perhaps biggest of all, there's just a lot more going on at the end game. There are more raids running, and it's less min-maxy or gatekeepy, whatever you want to call it. Not that these are a bad thing in hardcore settings if you're raiding and it's death.
How many times have we seen this Willy clip of him killing Ebonrock on his Warlock? I think I've seen this in his videos like 7 times.
Delete and you've invested hundreds of hours into your character, you can bet people are going to want to see a certain level of commitment from all the active raiders. But during the regular endgame, this isn't
This guy's a fucking idiot. He shouldn't be here. He's standing in the wrong spot, so is he. These guys are clowns. They have no idea what they're doing. This guy can't stop doing DPS. He actually thinks that he needs to be there doing DPS all the time, even though he's got fucking Maladath and Thunder Fury on. He's main-handing Thunder Fury.
A concern. Also, Warcraft Log still maintains a page where the data is actively populated from error servers, so we can see how many players to this day are choosing to raid on this version of the game. We're going to be looking at passes here, a pass being a single ranking for 1 boss kill over the past 2 weeks. You already know you're looking at vanilla when warriors are this far ahead, don't you? Anyways,
and you're looking at retail when warlocks are.
Just the past 2 weeks, there's been about 68,000 passes total in Molten Core, 51,000 in Blackwing Lair, 42,000 in AQ40, and about 74,000 in Naxxramas.
Jesus, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Bro, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't more than retail WoW.
It's possible, yeah.
Holy shit.
Here's another way of putting that. So if Naxxramas has 74,000 passes and is a 15 boss raid, that's kind of similar to saying 4,933 people have done Naxxramas over the past 2 weeks.
That's a lot.
Cleared it at least. And if you consider a raid is 40 people, that's about 123 40-man raids having done Nax over the past 2 weeks, which is not too bad, actually.
Yeah, it's really
People
good.
Are definitely running the end.
Oh shit, the sword dropped. I never got this. I always want to go back and get this fucking weapon.
In content in vanilla era, I think the popularity of the raids is pretty normal too. A lot of people are coming back to the game, they want to check it out, so they start off with Molten Core. There's less people doing Blackwing Lair and AQ40 because, I mean, well, Nax is out. And then Nax is the most popular because it's the end of the end game.
It's the most popular because it gives the best gear. People do Nax because it gives the good loot. Fucking duh.
Vanilla. In terms of PvP, there was less action compared to leveling or PvE, and it seemed as though Warsong Gulch was the most popular battleground, at least outside of weekend events. This again makes sense. Warsong Gulch is the smallest battleground, and in total only needs 20 players to start. I believe there is cross-faction battlegrounds in Era 2, so this should help games start more regularly. Remember, in Classic there's no experience from battlegrounds, and Blizzard has recently announced they will be doing a ranked reset. So people in Battlegrounds, when I'm doing this video, are the hardcore Battleground enjoyers who are playing just for fun and not as much for ranking. If I checked prior to this announcement, I'm confident in saying I would be seeing more people PvPing. The leveling zones were plenty busy though, so you should expect world PvP, just don't expect it to be fair. I mean, you already know there's going to be level capped rogues lurking in Stranglethorn Vale. It's vanilla open world PvP, it ain't fair. So the question is, why are people making a move back to a no changes, no updates, last phase vanilla server now? Biggest reason?
Because it's fucking easy. You get free loot at max level. You can progress completely at your own pace. Everything about the game is figured out. World buffs make the game an even bigger joke. They also make the world feel alive. Guilds feel like communities. Leveling feels like a game and not just a rite of passage, or not like just a fucking checklist to do. Like gearing while you're leveling is meaningful. Quests are dynamic. There's a lot of reasons. Professions matter.
What the fuck is this damage?
That's
what my minion are doing.
Forums, I've already seen a bunch of posts cropping up about TBC2 recently. Blizzard should have 100% kept that on error to anticipate future demand. Maybe it's not too late, but it just feels like a missed opportunity. Vanilla is also a very different experience to Wrath. I feel as though I kind of already have my mind made up about Wrath as an expansion, despite not being all the way through, and it seems as though many players didn't quite appreciate to what extent it really changed the core fundamentals of the game. Still, I'll wait towards the end before making that video. And as popular as hardcore is...
Wrath is I mean, Wrath has the WoW token. It's basically retail WoW. I mean, that's just what it is.
It's just very different from that standard vanilla WoW formula. You can't do things such as trading or grouping, not to mention having one life. These can all be deal breakers.
And there's no real content for professions in Wrath.
Yeah.
Like in BC, there was a lot of profession content, and in vanilla WoW there was too.
Yeah, BC was awesome for profession. I remember spending a lot of time crafting my for my rogue the dragon mace, the 101. It was, yeah. The skin was so good.
Whilst there is a demand for hardcore WoW, there is equally many players who just want to play your standard vanilla. And while standard vanilla is currently not on the cards, hardcore is. So here is what might be kind of a hot...
No, because Agron said whenever Sarth interviewed him after that classic WoW event, the hardcore WoW event, he said that they're planning something else and it's not Season of Mastery 2. So, like, they're probably planning Classic Plus.
I think people who are after fresh kind of want hardcore realms to be that fresh experience, when in reality they should be something completely different. No trading, restrictions on grouping and so on are all part of what makes hardcore WoW what it is. It might be different in other games, they might have different names for it, but it's under this formula the challenge has reached this popularity in the first place. Yes, hardcore is more single player than World of Warcraft is typically, and no, the game was not made to be played like this. This is why we're getting separate realms for it. And there are things that suck about hardcore too, such as queuing for named mobs, enchanting just straight up not being viable to level due to needing rods from blacksmithing, and so on. Do we throw away some of the core aspects of hardcore just to make these things possible again? I don't think you do. What if you had the blacksmithing rods on enchanting vendors where you could trade in some materials for them? And
that's smart. Yeah, they should probably make little changes like that. That'd be a good idea.
Grouping for name mobs is going to be inviting 4 random people around you, you all spam a macro, you get the tag, you say thank you, you disband, and that is it. It's just not really that great. Why not add additional named mobs for low-level quests that can drop the quest items? There's Gold Tooth in Fargo Deep Mine. Hey, let's add Silver Tooth and Bronze Tooth. All of them can drop the quest item, and 3 different spawn locations will be more than enough to not create bottlenecks. You may have noticed...
I think the bottlenecks are part of the content, actually. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think the bottlenecks are good.
Yes, I agree. For the Seraph quest in the forthcoming, you had to farm, or even for the to go to the last island, Stoneheim, I think it was the name. I don't remember. So I didn't play for the forthcoming for a long time, but anyway, you had to have an item who was in a chest to respawn like every 24 hours, I think, or something, 12 hours maybe. Something like that. And I remember I met some of my friends waiting for the chest to respawn. Like, it was cool.
Like, everybody says that they're bad, but there's like it's like a weird thing where the bottleneck makes you feel like the game is popping.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people that are trying to do the same thing that you are.
With the launch of Wrath of the Lich King and beyond, Blizzard specifically split players up into different zones. Wrath, Arbory, and Tundra.
And by the way, for the classic WoW hardcore realms, I think the solution is extremely simple. Just make it to where you can, you have like a, you know, a special title that like you can click a setting whenever you're making your character. And it's like, you know, solo self-found. And it says, you know, like you get a special title and it's like, you know, your name, the Iron Man, or something like that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Fjord, Kata was Hydrol or Vashir, and so on. I mean, this is going to be effort with adding extra mobs and updating the quest text, so don't expect it to happen or anything, but hey, I think it would fix the problem. It's just by now we've had 2019 Classic where you can group and trade, Season of Mastery where you can group and trade, Era where you can group and trade, TBC where you can group and trade, Wrath of the Lich King where you can group and trade. And now we have a server where this might not happen, and it's a problem. I don't know. I think we could try something different, and it might not be a bad thing. And yes, of course, there will be hardcore enjoyers who are skipping it at the moment because of the rules. I'm not saying these people don't exist. It's just you can actively see how many people are going by the rules at the moment.
I don't know why you can't just have a setting that, like, I mean, I refuse to acknowledge that Blizzard can't disable trading for certain characters.
Yeah.
There's no way they can't do that.
Yes, they can if they want.
If they are not perfect. And they won't ever be perfect, by the way.
And the current rules, by the way, the reason why the current rules are the way they are is because we don't have official servers. Because the concern was that people would get traded gear and items from players that weren't hardcore. And how do I know that? It's because if you're playing in a group, like this is obviously the philosophy, is that you can only trade with other hardcore players. Because you can also buy things and use things. Can you use the auction house? I don't know if you can or not in hardcore, but you can like trade items and stuff like that. At 60, yeah. So like that's clearly trading is the intent. You can't trade in hardcore, but you can trade with other players.
There is a saying, don't sacrifice something good for perfect. What we have at the moment is good. It's really good, in fact.
At
but
60.
it is clear all the same that these standard vanilla enjoyers have been growing alongside those who like hardcore. Why is it only one of them is getting what they want? Because you won't be able to keep both crowds happy with the same servers, I am sure about that. Do vanilla fans just have to wait for the next seasonal server later this year instead? Well,
I think that's what they should do. Yeah, just wait for the next seasonal server. Like the neckbeards that are playing vanilla WoW right now, they're not going to go away. It's not like they're going to be like, okay, well, I guess I'm just not going to play WoW anymore. Nah, bro, like they're going to be playing WoW forever. If you make a new WoW server, they're going to play it.
Be a fresh, where you
just
can
make it
trade,
good.
group, all of that stuff. I think we can safely assume that, but who knows what other changes it will have. I mean, imagine the thought of a warrior not doing 4 times the damage of half the classes in the game. Who would want to play that, right?
I'm
or
out.
should there just maybe be, well, a normal fresh? There are, of course, potential issues, such as splitting the player base for one. We've already got so many iterations of World of Warcraft, do we really need more? And it creates competition for people's attention in your own game, and that just doesn't seem very sensible. Then again, whatever you do, someone is going to have a problem with it. Overall, I just hope for hardcore servers we can play launch day or after 6 months, and it's fundamentally the same experience. And that's going to mean it's different from vanilla.
I just want to play a new season of Mastery that has the promise for more content out of after Nax. And a few little adjustments. That's all. I just want that. Just give me that.
Which will mean it's not for everyone. And I think that that is okay. Also, I think the amount of people just taking on plain vanilla are worth noticing too. It might not have been as prominent of a rise as hardcore has been, but it's clear that a lot of players want that. That's all for the thoughts today though. Just a bunch of things I wanted to say about vanilla doing well and the hardcore servers in general. Any thoughts you have about all of this? Do drop it down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. And I'll see you all in the next one very soon.
Decent video. This is something that's great. I mean, seeing like more people playing vanilla WoW, like I think it's a. There are certain things about vanilla WoW that make it special, and I know that some people might not want to acknowledge that or whatever. But I think some things like competition on mobs, world buffs,
I don't have my
running to the instance together. Those are things that make the game special, and so I don't want to see them take away world buffs and make the raids way harder, because that's not why people play classic WoW. No, WoW's better is because it's generally more immersive. It is. It's way more immersive, man. It's been, absolutely. Once in a while, Blizzard do a classic launch and expansion with completely different timelines, where like Illidan beat Arthas.
I can't click on the thingy.
I love the openness of classic. The zones in retail just seem over-designed, so cluttered and too dark. Yeah, I mean, there is something that's like really nice about the simplicity of classic WoW. I do think Blizzard's dialed that back a little bit. But yeah, like the openness of the game, it does feel more like a world, and like vanilla WoW feels more like a theme park. World buffs are a chore that people, even those unwilling, have to do because of how good it is. I think that world buffs make raids more fun because it's cool to watch somebody kill a boss really fast. I think that, yes, it is a chore, absolutely. But if the world buffs aren't a chore, then the raid is. So, you know. So this is the World of Warcraft was not made for you. World of Warcraft
Trump winning the election is not impossible. Anybody that says that is crazy. He can still win the Republican nomination, and he could still win the general. It's possible. So we would be in a very interesting scenario to where we could theoretically have a president like in jail or getting convicted of a.
This is a crazy high level. But the stats are so bad. I just want to see the skin. Yeah, it's ugly. But, yeah. The high level was crazy though. Ugh. Low life roll, but that's not bad. Anyway.
Crime federally while also being president, which presents a whole bunch of incredibly interesting questions about how our government works and what would happen.
Why do you think like it's okay to like Trump? Why would he call him like fascist exactly?
In my opinion, the biggest marker for a fascist is somebody that's willing to, like, there aren't very many people doing these stupid things, but conservatives pretend there are because so many people in the left are willing to defend it, and that's always the issue, I think.
What's up with Trump, you know? I know that he was, the thing is about him having documents that he was not supposed to withheld since he was no longer like a president and stuff. And yeah, but other like arguments that you know can help him out other than Hillary emails.
On the federal charges, meaning the charges coming from our federal government, the government of the entire United States, Trump is absolutely fucked, and there is nothing that is getting out of that. The only question is, what is the sentencing going to look like? Unless the FBI or the DOJ is completely lying about all the evidence they have. So short of that, he's going to be buried on those charges, and no amount of Hillary's emails are going to help him on that.
Well, I hope so, yeah. I just saw like the only arguments from people. I saw like a little bit of your conversation with people, and all the arguments were just, but what about Hillary? You know, nothing more than that. So it seems to me like nothing better than that have been produced to explain like this away, because it seems like.
Yeah, people are just trying to play basically that like, oh, well, there's a double standard essentially is what people are trying to say.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, even if there is a double standard, it doesn't really help Trump at all, so.
Yeah. Also not exactly comparable, but that's another like thing.
Not even close to comparable, yeah.
Yeah, but whatever. That's basically just, I wanted to know, maybe you know like.
Why do I don't have minion, yeah?
Some decent, I guess, argument.
What happened to my minions?
No.
Kind of help the guy out, but you know, well, him, you know, it's not like I'm sad about that, obviously.
Sure. Although there is going to be a lot of interesting questions coming up, because Trump winning the election is not impossible. Anybody that says that is crazy. He can still win the Republican nomination, and he could still win the general. It's possible. So we would be in a very interesting scenario to where we could theoretically have a president like in jail or getting convicted of a crime federally while also being president, which presents a whole bunch of incredibly interesting questions about how our government works and what would happen and everything, right? Like the Department
my
of
minions
Justice
are just dying. That's annoying.
We have different branches for our government, and the Department of Justice exists underneath the President of the United States. So people don't really know what would happen. Like, this doesn't really happen, so nobody really asks, right? There's not like a thing built in for how to deal with what happens when the president's Department of Justice is trying to like investigate and convict him of a crime. Like nobody.
This is this thing. This thing is killing my minions so fast.
Yeah.
Fucking annoying.
Is there like no law that prohibits him to?
Yeah,
it's
to
be a president.
The crystal
has, like, convictions or shit like that.
I could be wrong, but I think the only conviction that prevents you from running for president, I believe the only one is if you do espionage act. Like if you're convicted of espionage, I think. But other than that, you can be
like
rapist, murderer, whatever you want. Yeah.
Well, interesting. But I might be like under wrong impression, but Trump fans, they just seem like straight up cultists. So maybe him being prosecuted is actually will motivate them to vote for him, because there will be like, oh, you see the establishment, they got him, so they'll be like even more motivated.
Yeah, that's a good argument.
Trump fans are all anti-establishment, really. So that means that any move by the establishment to attack him is always going to be seen as reinforcing the fact that he was right about everything.
Like, proves they're like already existing.
As a non-American, that's how I perceive it from fans, I guess. But yeah.
Like conspiracy shit. Well, that was one question, and I told you, I think, but Dylan recently like posted interview, part of the interview, like part 1 of the interview we did with Right Sector Commander, one of the people who serves in 68 Mechanized Brigade in Ukraine near Bakhmut.
Okay.
So it have been quite a spicy interview. So maybe some people in your DGG guys watched it. I got like a lot of engagement on Twitter when I posted like about it, and some explanation why we decided to do it. And it was like such a like moment. It basically was like my idea. I suggested it to Dylan, and I was like, do you want to do it? And he was like a bit, like apprehensive about it, because he was like I don't know, like those guys are like very controversial, to put it mildly, and also he might have been a bit uncomfortable, I guess, but then we decided to do it, but we have to like approach it responsibly, basically to highlight the fact that this is hardly represents the the average Ukrainian soldier or average Ukrainian opinion, to actually like be honest about the fact that those people are like about as far right as it usually gets. You rarely would you get more far right than Right Sector in Ukraine. So people talk about Azov because it's part of Russian propaganda, obviously, right? But there's like nowhere near Azov is anywhere near Right Sector, like in regards to like ideologically driven.
Every minion is dead.
It's the difficult part is people tend to have a really hard time accepting like anything negative about a particular thing. Like things tend to be all good or all bad. So when you're doing reporting, it's very difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult not to cover something in an honest way, because if you present any bad or anything that could be bad, then people are like, oh, well, look, see, it's all bad. So when it comes to covering like far right aspects of Ukraine, my guess is there probably is like some amount of like far right sentiment in Ukraine. There might even be some anti-Semitism in some Ukrainian military forces. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, just because military people tend to lean more right than anything else. But the problem is that like if you report on that or if you cover that at all, then people, go straight to like, oh, well, look, they're all Nazis, or it's all horrible. Zelensky's probably a Nazi. And then it gets very, very, very hard to have like I hate the word nuance, but it gets hard to have like a non-binary view of, all of Ukraine, basically.
This was basically our worry, to even cover it.
Yeah,
but
and you have to be really careful, because like
you
can't pretend it's not there and like throw all softballs, but you don't want to like dig in on the far right aspect, because then it looks really bad, and then it's like, yeah, it's a difficult thing to manage. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's very like kind of hard to, but then we kind of like discussed it and basically came to the conclusion that they will be brought up anyway. So this narrative like about like Ukrainian being Nazis, Nazi, whatever the fuck, Azov, like Bandera, that all that shit is brought up regardless. Like either we will talk about them or not, I will hear about it if I live long enough, considering things, I will hear about when I'm fucking old.
Yeah.
Like I will hear about Azov, Right Sector. So basically it's new Bandera, I call it, like the Bandera of the new age, basically at this point. So this is like part of the mythos, so to speak, now. So there's like nothing you can do about it. But at the same time, rather than people just talk about them nonstop, we would probably be kind of interesting to see what they actually have to say, you know, themselves. Because there's no content like that, as Dylan said, like in English whatsoever. So literally none. So that would be like, you know, at least interesting in that regard. And also, if we're honest about it and we just, you know, show as it is, then maybe, you know, people will make their own conclusions. And this was like kind of like our motto. So we arrived at the place. It's quite close to Russian, you know, border where they were at the time. And we decided to, you know, talk with the commander basically of that particular battalion. And I had like never met him before. So, you know, he was and is by far like one of the most intimidating people I have ever met.
Okay.
Genuinely, yeah, because not just because like he's of anything like in particular, like ideology wise, he's just incredibly like, I don't even know how to even explain it, like he's such a like strong like presence.
Yeah, some people are very aggressive. Yeah, or not even aggressive, but just they carry a lot of like weight. They fill a room with their presence and everything. Yeah.
Yes, not only that, you look at him and you know he killed a bunch of people.
Okay. Yeah.
You know. You can kind of, it's not like, I'm not making like light of it. He's fighting in Bakhmut and mostly kills Wagner people. So good luck, my guy, you know. Not a single battalion is anywhere near Wagner when it comes to actual brutality, like slaughter and actual fucking neo-Nazism, you know. So I'm not bad about that, obviously, right? The defenders of my country and people who stand between me and that shit, I will do anything I can for them regardless, you know.
Sure.
But it's just he's like very
Seriously?
scary dude. Let's put it like that. So he comes to me and he like asks me, and also we came there like basically like a fucking gay duo, you know. So Dylan and like me, and I was like green hair, you know, rainbow tattoo, stomach exposed. Like I was not like I don't know, like slutty dressed, but pretty like, you know, exposed and like funky pants and everything. And it's just and we're like literally the gay duo, like amongst very far right and quite you know heavily involved in the fighting people, which they treated us just fine. So I didn't feel like threatened or scared at any point. I was just, the only thing I was afraid of is that he will get mad and didn't want to do the interview.
Sure.
So, you know, we'll cut it off basically. So I was like, he asked me like, so what do you like wanna talk about? And I was like, well, this and that. Dylan was like very adamant about asking them about LGBT, about things like that. I was, you know, told him that Yaroslav is his name, and he was like, well, you know, like girly, we're not like exactly the best people to talk about this subject. And I was like, yeah, no, that's why we're here, you know. And he was like, okay, like, but how honest can I be? And I was like, well, we would prefer if you would be like 100% honest. And he was like, well, I'll give you 99, okay?
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's good enough, you know? And so basically, I tried to explain to him like we are not going to, you know, turn it into some sort of like narrative, like, you know, look at them like it's your typical, you know, Ukrainian soldier. So we're not going to do it. And he himself said like we are like, you know, not typical people. We are like completely like very much like more radical and more like ideologically driven than most soldiers who are fighting like, you know, in the army. And I was like, yeah, no, that's, you know, why we're interested. So we ended up doing this like interview in like there was no light in the area, no electricity. So we had like this, you know, flashlights, like, you know, highlighting him like in a dramatic
like
movie.
It's an ISIS interview or something,
So basically we're like set up across him. And as we spoke, he would get like progressively madder.
Okay.
Like more angry. So I started like, you know, like make jokes and try to lighten up the mood. Mostly he would get angry because how to explain it without triggering people? I guess I would just honest about it. It's just unfathomable to quite a lot of like Ukrainian soldiers and Ukrainian people in general. Like, why the fuck half of the interview is about LGBT?
Sure,
you know? So so he basically made a very good argument about that. He was like why the fuck should we like, you know, talk about those topics? Like who paints like their house walls when the house is on fire?
Yeah.
You know, deal with like things that are more crucial now than that. So yeah, there was like a lot of interesting things about that interview. I'd say he represented, far-right people pretty well. So what he said was pretty characteristic of most people who I know, like who are like him.
Sure.
So second part of the interview is the most interesting part because he talks about Wagner, talks about how they are composed, how they are created, and he talks about like Bakhmut and the Battle of Bakhmut and the strategies. It's much more interesting than GPT stuff, to be quite honest. But he was like basically the interview ended up being received pretty well by most people. Most people were surprised that he was far less awful than they expected.
Sure.
Which is, I guess, is like a compliment. I don't know what they expected exactly, but this was, to me, like interesting experience, and to Dylan as well. And I think most people told that he's like a Midwestern, like conservative American, basically, like a slightly racist grandpa,
Sure.
in America. Yeah, that's what people, told me, like in comments and everywhere. Like he's like, like basically like a Republican person, something like that. Many even made comments that far-right people in the United States are way wackier than him. So this was not bad, I think. Also, by the way, just so people, have a little laugh, I sent him the comments and I told him what people call him, like racist American grandpa, like Midwestern, Republican. People say Republican with IQ, which was funny. He liked that one. But I also told him that some people call him like average MAGA supporter, like Make America Great Again, right? And he was like, not that, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So he basically objected to Trump, but not to the rest of it. Trump was objectionable. But his explanation was like, first of all, the guy is literally a scammer, oligarch, and second of all, he's like has a cult of personality, which is disgusting, and he doesn't support that. Well, anyhow, it was pretty interesting, but most people were pretty okay with all of that and were interested and said that they don't support like his views, but they, it was interesting to hear. But there are, of course, leftists,
Yeah.
who came out of the woods, with the general song and dance of accusing me of being a Nazi or a Nazi supporter, which is boring. Not gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
But
I saw that on your Twitter feed.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, like a lot of people brought up this platform and shit.
Yeah, that's a big one that we talk about in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah, and can you please like what on earth? Like first, I just don't understand. Like he's not a media person. He doesn't have any media platform. He's not a content creator. He's not a politician. He wore a mask. Like for fuck's sake, like who are we like? Platforming exactly. It's just like an interview.
So the way that it works is the far left people in the United States believe that if you don't have like basically you have to have a very hardline position when it comes to things like fascism, right? They define a lot of their political movement around their opposition to fascism. And if you're not like 100% ideologically opposed to it, then you are 100% ideologically aligned with it. So I don't know if you've heard them, I don't know if you've heard them say the thing that's like, if there's one Nazi at a table...
That's one aspect that annoys me the most, because you can have conversations, and it's the same of any social... It's not just American, it's the same in Europe, with social issues and right versus left. It's like, you have to be in an extreme, or if you're in the middle, you're basically if you're in the middle, you are the extreme right for the left, and if you're in the middle, you are the extreme left for the right. This is so stupid.
Table sitting with 11 people, there are 12 Nazis at a table, or 13 Nazis at a table.
That's retarded.
Yes.
Yeah. But the issue is that, the issue is that when it comes to like platforming, what a lot of left-leaning people will say is that like if you platform somebody with extremist views, then you're essentially letting that person spread those extremist views, and then you're essentially like creating more fascists. Essentially, is kind of like how people view it.
Yeah, but that's not true, because to counter an idea, you need to understand the said idea, and the best way to be against fascism is to understand how fucked up it is. And if you don't, you can be seduced by it. If you don't understand what is it, you never had arguments for it or against it, well, conversation is important, argumentation is important for people to make their own idea and just not repeat what the latest content creator has said. So you should be able to talk about almost anything as long as it doesn't target people personally, right? At the ID level, you should be able to talk about anything.
First of all, nobody made an argument why he's a fucking fascist.
Well, fascist
just
means
him.
Fascist is like a colloquial. Nobody really knows what fascism is in the United States. Fascist is just like a colloquial term for like far right, kind of, or like anti-LGBT, or that's just kind of like what.
Oh, that's my actual next questions I would like to ask. But first of all, like nobody made like any points. They didn't even watch the video. I presume they're just like, oh, right sector, that's it, fascist. Why do you talking with this guy? But it's just first of all that, and second of all, like it's an interview. Like it's journalism, you know. It's
yeah, but they would say it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. They would say that there are certain people that just should never be interviewed.
But why? Like those views
because
are
when
like
you talk to those people, it spreads the views more. That is the extent of the argument. Yeah.
But most of the world shares his opinions on gay people.
Yeah, but it's just because they're all being platformed.
Well, that's so weird. And this like LGBT thing, I basically like asked people. Well, basically, like, you know, like fascism, like authoritarianism, ultranationalism, I don't know, like characterized by like a dictatorial leader, autocracy, I don't know, like extreme militarism, like, I don't know, suppression of opposition, generally like forcible, you know, with like imprisonment and killing and stuff like that. What else? Like subordination of individual interests, right, to the like for the perceived good, you know, of the whatever, like of the country, of the nation, like those are like, you know, things that make fascism, not like yeah. And you know, he's nothing like that. He's very anti-authoritarian. He's very pro-democracy, pro-elections. That's very important to him. This is one of the most important things he says we need to protect from Russia in Ukraine, you know. And yeah, so it's just first of all that, and second of all, it's just I asked, like I was joking, I made jokes like, so what being anti-gay marriage like, and if feeling gays are yucky is like Nazis, like fascism. I was joking, and they were like, unironically, yes.
Yeah, because they'll point to the fact that like Nazis like had LGBT people in
concentration. Yeah, they don't
camps.
understand what fascism is. Like, being anti-LGBT is not fascism. It's stupid, and me personally, I think it's wrong. But it's not fascist.
And say that like that's part of a big part of fascism.
True, it's part of it, obviously, right? Like a disgust towards like any divergency from what is considered social norm. So this is a very big part of, like, you know, fascist and Nazi shit, obviously, right? So yeah, and also like strict gender roles, adherence to traditionalism is very big part. But it's
this is a really good one,
and also it's not like
this is a really good one because you can roll the damage to close enemy, I guess, into intellect. Yeah, this is a really cool one. And
like the only part, just being homophobic doesn't make you a fascist. Like,
yeah, Americans don't really have like good. Yeah, Americans don't have good definitions of fascism, or arguably even leftism. I don't even know, like, how much the world even believes in like socialism anymore or whatever. Like for instance, like in the United States, we'll say that like a lot of Scandinavian countries are socialist.
Yeah, I heard for Americans that France is socialist, like, and yeah, we have a lot of social programs. We have free healthcare, well, 90% of free healthcare, but yeah, we have job support, we have free education, but that's not socialism. Well, it is, but we also have a capitalist economy. We have I have my own business. Like, I don't know, it's stupid. I'd rather have that than paying 10k to give birth or stuff like this, right? Like, each time I check something about healthcare in America, I feel sad. But I'm not objective about this because I've been sick most of my life. I was contaminated at the public hospital when I was 6 in 91 with Hep C. And I grew up with it. I didn't know it until I was 28 or something like that. But yeah, So I was sick most of my life, and I'm still sick today. I don't have Hep C anymore. I was cured in France for free, by the way, which is amazing. But I have a Basdo disease, a thyroid disease, and I don't know. I will probably be. I probably have a big medical debt in the United States. I don't know how I would be living, right? Anyway.
Not really, but everybody kind of uses
No,
these definitions to just mean whatever, so it's hard to, yeah. But I mean, that's just how it works, right? Colloquial words change, evolve over time, and people just say whatever. Yeah.
And I asked that person, by the way, who was, by the way, they them with like a furry picture, obviously, right? And they're communists. Yeah, but I asked them like what do you think? Like then, if anyone who's like mildly homophobic is a Nazi, then literally most people in the world are Nazis. Do you understand that? So like China, Russia with humongous populations, right? So India, Middle East, Africa.
Yeah, almost most religious people are Nazi by this definition, right? Even Americans.
A lot of countries in Africa, right? So like most like people.
Well,
most
whoa. That doesn't work because black and brown people can't be fascist, so they have an escape for that one. Minorities can't be fascists. That's only white people.
Yeah. Oh, so that's why the person enrolled me an email. Now I get it.
Maybe. Oh yeah, true. Because you're white. Yeah.
Yeah, he said like, how can you like be like you're not even like can be a Nazi because why you support Nazis if you're like Slavic people are not white? Which basically I'm like all over the place about that. You know, first of all, like why the fuck are we not white? And second of all, like it makes
Yeah.
it basically makes a point that
They
you
are
can
white.
only
What?
be Nazi if you're white.
Yeah, but
which
sure. And even
the argument is false, but they are white. What the fuck? What?
Is this kind of like depends? Yeah, just. Yeah.
So like Japan like was not fascist then in World War II. Like
I don't think they like Asians very much.
I don't.
So that's why they made BIPOC is to kick Asians out. So I think like Asians and white people, I think they're generally okay shitting on, but it just depends. Yeah. I don't know. The left-leaning people in the United States are kind of a mess, but they're a very small percentage of the population. They're just a really big percentage of what goes on Twitter.
Yeah, but that's what I also wanted to ask you. Is it a representative, like average, like leftist, progressive person, not like internet people, but just average person? Do they think like just being homophobic is,
I need this.
No, that's like very online stuff, but they're very, very, very big online. Yeah, but like the average like Democrat in the United States is not going to be like a progressive. That's just very, 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 very online. But they're very, very loud online.
Don't get me like wrong. Obviously, I would prefer like us to be more like the West when it comes to LGBT. Obviously, right? So yeah, but it's.
I don't know if this is worth it, but
how to say it for fuck's sake? Like even in Eastern Europe, it's like pretty common, you know. So most people like will not go to like religious arguments, so like calling them like sinners or like saying they were like bring like hell or shit like that, and most people don't care here because of the atheism and less religious and shit like that. But they will be like just disgust, just
sure.
Yeah, which is not exactly like nicer or better, and it is getting way better, and it has been in recent years, which I'm super hyped about. But it's just like I was like very concerned.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that. Also, in my humble opinion, them not even allowing that person like Yaroslav to speak.
Yeah.
He was not like screeching.
I almost thought it was this one. I was so happy because I was shit just not possible, but it was not. It was shit hearing instead. Fuck me. The stats are not bad, but it's a perfect roll. So I'm gonna keep it. But yeah.
Jews and shit like that, he was pretty reasonable overall. So just not allowing him even to speak, even to have a voice. Just suppress, we want them to be silent or dead is basically what they said.
Yeah,
like
basically,
legit
yeah.
That. Yeah.
I mean, that's how it goes. People get mad
like,
at me for even talking to far right people, so that's pretty normal,
Yeah, and I was like, dude, that's like closer to fascism than Yaroslav can fucking dream of,
Well, the real
because
issue with
like,
things like fascism is that like there's like nobody likes fascism because of the word, but there's probably a lot of aspects of fascism that people would like if you present those aspects just on their own.
Yeah,
like there are some aspects of
that's for sure.
There are some aspects of far left like thought that would like fit very, very, very well like in a fascist regime, like the ability to like control people like absent of political systems.
Yeah, that's why we call them fascists.
Sure, yeah. But then also like in the United, but the problem with that in the United States is that like, you know, we complain about progressives a lot because they're who are like very big online, but like the Republican Party, the majority of them that follow Trump at least would probably be completely okay with most of like the United States being like a fascist system. And that's real life. That's not just Twitter. Those are the people that actually go out and vote. So that's why it's so much more difficult dealing with the Republican Party here in the United States. Because all of the people that like wear MAGA hats that follow Trump are essentially fascists. They just don't know what it means.
I heard you say it, but I'm like kind of debate time, let's put it like that. So do you think like that's funny to say, but whatever, do you think like why do you think like it's okay to like Trump, why would he call him like fascist exactly?
The biggest, in my opinion, the biggest marker for a fascist is somebody that's willing to disregard rule of law to further their own power. And Trump was huge on undermining democratic norms and rule of law for his own power. He wasn't technically a fascist because he couldn't be, because the United States system stopped him, but he tried at every single attempt to be a fascist. So for instance, like he told, after we did in the United States, we all kind of vote on who the president should be. Our parliament doesn't do it, our people do it, which is kind of weird, but in the United States, but after all of our people voted and the states were like ready to say like this is who we voted on, like Donald Trump he called like one state saying like, hey, I need you guys to find more votes because the outcome is not acceptable. And then he told his vice president, the guy beneath him, he was like, listen, I need you to tell all the states that like their votes don't count and I need you to just make me president again. Like those types of breaking of norms, that is hardcore fascist behavior. Like I don't care what the that's fascist behavior. In my opinion, undermining, and this is where there's a little bit of crossover with like commies and socialists, undermining liberal values to me can be fairly fascist. So for instance, I think freedom of speech in the United States is a really big deal. Trump doesn't like it that much. When you start uttering phrases, which he said verbatim, the media is the enemy of the people, those are very fascist statements. So I would say
that's true.
Essentially, so I think like the two big words for fascist that I usually see are authoritarian, ultranationalism. I think that if Trump wanted to be an authoritarian, I think he absolutely would be. He wanted to be single person rule of law. He wanted to do everything as the president. He didn't. He didn't like Congress. He had no regard for norms or process. And ultranationalist, everything. I mean, make America great again. It was all about the country, America.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, it's literally the phrase that was used, like for example, make Britain great again by the fascist parties in Britain. Makes sense. But I think I'm quite comfortable with calling him like wannabe fascist, basically. So if he would kind of.
I wish we could get away from the words because the words are so morally loaded. Because I think that if you just wouldn't call it fascist, I think most Republicans would be more honest about what they believe. Jesus.
There's also like this. Can you like tell me if like I'm right about that? I think like that there's like he isn't like exactly like traditionalist Trump, I wouldn't say.
Well, it's hard.
There's like
he's not really, but like he duped everybody somehow into thinking he was. But that's like a weird because like he talked about like because he's like. He like held up like the gay pride flag, but then he also tried to like kick trans people out of the military. He talked about like making it so women that have abortions should get like criminally prosecuted. But he also had like 3 wives and he cheats on his wife with porn stars. So I don't know. He's also supposed to be like the representation of the everyman. He's the guy that's going to fight against the system, but he's also a billionaire. So to some extent, he's just kind of like it's really just like a perfect showcase of like how stupid the average conservative is in the United States because they will accept the political positions even though those are contrary to every single aspect of Trump's life. But most Republicans will, if you ask them now, it's a lie, but most of them will cope and they'll tell you, oh no, well we never supported any of like Trump's personal life. That was always bad, but we just like what he said. But they're all basically clapping along for a lot of things. They just pretend that now they weren't because it looks really bad.
Well, now that I think about it, I guess there's also one of the big, like, it's not like the biggest thing, but I think like obsession with the plot is very much like his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's like this media out to get him, like the left you know, like whatever, like the hack it would be. Like there's like
not
always
just the
like
left,
this.
but everybody, because a lot of the people, again, Trump was an exceptionally poor leader, and he was exceptionally anti-democratic in his leadership. So it wasn't just the left that was fucking him over; it was the right as well. Like, so for instance, like he blames a lot of lifelong politicians or lifelong bureaucrats in these administrations. Okay, sorry. But the problem is a lot of them were Republicans. Like Comey, for instance, in the FBI is somebody that Trump hated with a fiery fucking passion. But Comey was a lifelong Republican. I believe the same. I think, somebody can remember wrong, I think Christopher Wray with the CIA, I think was the same. There are a lot of like lifelong Republicans that just so happen to be, I guess, far leftist deep state plants when it came to Trump. That was what he would claim, but yeah. So
would you say he participated in suppression of opposition, or is it like or was it like hard to do in the United States just in general?
I think he wanted to, but he wasn't able to. No, they were just doing that in the United States. It's very, 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 very hard.
But there is this like I think I saw like several times like this again, like quite big part of like fascism is disagreement is treason basically.
Yeah.
So this is like very prevalent in Russia. This is like one of the main things. So any like anything that criticizes like Putin or Kremlin and something like that is you will branded a traitor. You will be branded a foreign agent immediately, you know. And it's not like that obviously in the United States, and it's not like that with Trump case, but he does seem to be, and his followers as well, you know, they're like very obsessed with this like plot, with like conspiracism, with like everything is against him, like it's, you know, things like that. Yeah, it does seem like cult of personality, you could say easily, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, he was a populist leader, right? Which is all about like cult of personality shit. So yeah.
Yeah, but it does, being a populist doesn't make you like a fascist. It could be part of it.
No, but I don't think that every populist is a fascist, but I feel like every fascist is probably a populist. Right? Like that idea of like, I'm going to lead you against the system. Trust me, ignore everybody else. Like I'm the only one that can save you is a pretty populist message. Like Bernie Sanders was a populist, but I don't think Bernie Sanders is a fascist.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. There's also like this whole thing. Also, I wouldn't say like it's like the biggest criteria, but basically like all like fascist and though honestly like commie whatever, like but fascist they appeal to some sort of like frustration, like social frustration.
Yeah, always.
Which seems to be like this slogan like make America great again. So basically it kind of like even implies like it sucks now, you know, for various reasons, right? Like but it could be great again. So people are like frustrated, I guess, with like the media, the left, like LGBT stuff, like agenda, they say, right? Things like that. So
yeah, but it's always funny because every time I would press one on like, when you say make America great again, like what time period do you want to go back to? What do you mean when you say that? And people really can't even answer.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. But apparently, considering like what I saw from rightoids in America, I thought they would be like 50s or some shit. But they were like medieval now.
Well, they don't like to say 50s because it's kind of a trap question because in the United States, we passed something called the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Which got rid of a lot of kind of like legalized discrimination. So they can't really say anything before 1964, but like between 64 and 2020, like it kind of sounds weird. It's like, I want to go back to the 1990s. Like you sound stupid saying it. So it's kind of like a trap question.
Well, Milo Yiannopoulos in your debate wanted to go back to Middle Ages. So, you know, it's...
he's like,
Yeah, but that's, you know, him. I guess not the right in general, but but I kind of feel this frustration now because I you know have shat on, you know, several lefty commie people because they bug me, you know, because I'm Ukrainian, obviously, right? But when I made like tweets basically about it, so like criticizing the leftists for demonizing the right, to, you know, to excessively like catastrophizing, to like not seeing them as people, not willing to have like any dialogue, being like cooped in their own like bubble and shit like that. But a bunch of rightoids, they came to those Twitter and was like, yeah, girl, like, yeah, those leftoids, they're like demonizing us, and, you know, they're like, they don't want free speech. And they would be like, I was like, well, okay, I guess. And then we're like, they're all pedophiles, you know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, you're doing like the same shit basically. And they were like, but they're all like Satanist, like Hollywood Satanist, like child, like I don't know, eaters or something. And I was like, what the fuck, So I realized that they're doing kind of like similar shit apparently as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when I called them out on that, and I was like, well, that's also demonized into like a highest degree,
Mm-hmm.
to put it mildly. And they were like, oh no, it's really happening. And I was like, well, the leftists are thinking you're really fascist, They
Yeah.
also think it's really happening. So it's not like, and basically that person sent me a video of I don't know, like LGBT person, like in short shorts, twerking in front of like a little child and like crawling towards them. And I was like, yeah, that's weird, Like I can denounce that without denouncing LGBT as a whole, obviously, right?
Well,
And
maybe, yeah. We have a hard time denouncing that in the United States. That's a whole other thing. There's a discourse that we do every year called quote unquote kink at Pride, and there's an argument every year over whether or not there should be like kinky like sex things going on at Pride parades, and that's like every single year. That's a whole shit show of stupid shit that plagues us every year. Yeah. Most of the issues in the United States, the reason why conservatives get so unhinged isn't because our left is so huge and so crazy. It's because so many people are willing to defend very niche acts. That's the issue. Like, there aren't very many people doing these stupid things, but conservatives pretend there are because so many people on the left are willing to defend it, and that's always the issue, I think. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Like, he basically showed me this, which I denounced like immediately. It's fucking weird and disgusting, should not be done.
Mm-hmm.
But then he showed me like, I don't know, like a video of unicorns dancing with rainbows in the school, and that's somehow comparable to the sexual dancing in front of children.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's weird, like the right people also like weird, I guess, because they're just like it's not the same. Like what's harm there? And yeah, it's very like weird. But I didn't know like that the left is that people were so unwilling to call out this like weird sexual shit.
Yeah, because of the unwillingness to do it. That's why there's, in my opinion, I think that's why there's so much discourse about it. Because like you never like catch me on those arguments. Because like if somebody says, well, what about this? I'll just like, yeah, that's creepy and weird, and then they can't really say anything. It's like, okay, and then you move on from it. But when people on the left are like willing to throw up like everything in their ideology to defend a particular thing that's probably weird, then everybody gets kind of weird about it, and then you end up in a stupid world where we're all defending dumb shit.
But don't you just like play up all those old and tired arguments about gay people being like pedos and grooming children and
yeah, I mean, it's dumb, but I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, like, you can if people want to argue over like grooming and shit, then we can start fighting over data. But the problem is like even the word grooming, nobody knows what it means anymore, right? Grooming just means talking to a kid and telling them something that the parents don't want them to know about. That's like what people consider grooming. So like, yeah.
Oh, that's what he said. That right person. He basically showed me like this very sexual weird shit, which is weird, and I think it's weird, but awful. But then he showed me like basically just having a rainbow and a unicorn in the school is grooming children into being gay, and you're like, nah, it's not the same. Even like in the slightest, what's the grooming process? And he was like, you can't talk about like LGBT with children without mentioning like sex, and I like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Like easily, like basically I told like those like stories people read to children about like prince and a princess like falling in love. You can do the same shit without like sex with like prince and a prince. I don't know, you know what I mean, right? You can easily do it without we have been telling children stories about love and relationships without sexual aspect for centuries. It's not that hard.
Even somebody in YouTube chat, I'm sorry, somebody in YouTube chat just said this: teaching kids how to use butt plugs as grooming. It's not. It might be creepy and it might be weird and it might be wrong, but that's not grooming. Again, like grooming has just turned into like anytime you show a kid something I don't like, it's grooming. That's not grooming at all. But
well, I wouldn't do it probably.
From what I understand, grooming is when you persuade a child that you are a viable sexual option. Like, it's weird. Yeah, but yeah, I feel like people use the word weirdly.
No, yeah, it's bad, but it's not grooming,
children
right?
how to use butt. No, yeah, not grooming. Yeah, obviously, yeah. Well, so they bring up arguments like that, and they will like show you like couple videos of like gay people doing weird shit, and it's like all gay people. But at the same time, if like the leftists are not willing to denounce it, then it makes for a good ammunition for right people to use, which is not good.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Well, that's about it, I think. I also talked with like people about trans stuff recently, and they apparently like I met like a trans person friend, Polish, and she's like she doesn't like you much, to be honest, basically because of your trans takes. But it's just was very interesting. I like maybe like I don't know like that much about it, to talk. But there was like this interesting thing I figured out. Do you know like this book people talk about, like this? What the fuck is it called? It's like irreversible damage, like some like aggressive like name, like I don't know, like trans craze. Yeah, there's like this. What the fuck is this author? I forgot. Let me check it out.
What about?
Abigail, and about like trans people.
Abigail book. Someone is saying Abigail Schreier.
Oh yeah, that. So basically, like it's called like it's a very aggressive like thing, irreversible damage or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I haven't read it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's like irreversible damage, like the trans craze, like seducing our daughters, some shit like that. So it's very like turfy, I guess you could say. Book,
yeah, I guess
obviously.
yeah. I haven't read it, so I don't know anything about it.
I haven't read it, so I like don't know what's inside, obviously, and I honestly don't plan to, like don't have time for that shit, to be honest. But it's just I understand like people like that, being like people, trans people are not happy with this type of stuff, obviously. But also like I heard this argument you made, which people find which she, I guess, also made, this author, despite the book being like aggressively transphobic, I guess you could say. But she made this argument, it is social contagion.
Social contagion, yeah. I mean, the idea of social contagion is probably somewhat true. But like people stretch it to like an insane degree is like the issue. But yeah,
that's what
the big problem is that like when you
the author, but
if you want to have an intelligent conversation about this, and I'm starting to ask people this all the time because it's so important. The problem with a lot of these conversation topics is people use a word like a lot or many or so much, but they don't quantify it, and that's really, really important. So like social contagion, if somebody says like social contagion affects a lot of kids, what do you mean when you say a lot? So like a question I would say is, how many people do you think are like getting drug therapy because they're trans because of social contagion? My guess for that is like probably less than 5%, if that, right? Now, if you were to say like how many people have socially contagion themselves into being like non-binary with neo-pronouns, probably a lot more, probably like 70%. But those people aren't usually getting like drug therapy, right? So just like asking people to like quantify what they're saying and not letting people get away with like, oh yeah, a lot of people are experiencing this. What do you mean by a lot? Is a really important thing to keep the conversation like on the rails, I think. Yeah.
It just seems to me like why I brought this book up is just like this book is like an example of catastrophizing, obviously, but at the same time, so like like right conservatives seem to like scream about like every kid is like trans, in the bushes at this point here, but the left, on the other hand, they seem to be absolutely in denial of like even like a concept of like the social contagion.
Yeah, because they feel like if they give anything, it's kind of like talking about conservatives and guns, right? Like there's probably like this is a thing I use a lot. Like there's probably some red flag laws that most conservatives, if you get them alone one-on-one and you talk to them, you can probably get them to be like, yeah, some red flag laws are probably okay. I've known a lot of very conservative people, especially people that were cops, that are like, yeah, some red flag laws probably okay. But the reason why they don't want to give anything on it is because if you give that, you don't know what they're coming for next, like psychologically. So people on the left probably feel the same way, right? Like they don't want to admit that like any kid might be making some stupid decision because he's like been on a Discord chat or on a Twitter group for too long. So they just end up saying that it doesn't happen at all. But then both sides refusing to engage with reality makes the conversation worse and worse and worse, basically.
Yeah, it seems to be like that. I'm like, obviously, like I understand some of the feelings like from trans community, obviously, because many of those arguments are similar that has been used against gay people, right? So it's like, it's like a disease, if you see like a trans person, you will become trans and shit like that. I understand like why they're, but at the same time, this is like a very provocative question. I'm sorry. I know you have like problems with like trans people, but do you really think like it's impossible for like a young girl to be convinced that she's like trans? Is it like really Is it like
no, I
really
think if I had to
explorable?
guess, when it comes to things, even like your sexual orientation, my guess is to some extent there's going to be some environmental factors that play into this. Almost certainly, right? I doubt that you're born gay or
both,
born
right?
straight or born trans. These are probably things that are influencing you like through your development. Now, my guess is going to be the way that you're influenced is a lot more subtle than people think. So, for instance, it's not like if you have a gay dad, you're going to turn gay, but it's probably more like a subtle confluence of different factors that influence you as you grow up, and then depending on the genes you have, might push you in a certain direction versus not. That'd be my guess. It's not going to be like my kid played with a Barbie doll once and I turned gay. So yeah, I'm sure there are some social factors that can push people in certain directions. But like even if that's true, it doesn't change like the end result. So for instance, let's say that it was the case that there was like a TV show that turned kids gay. That doesn't mean that like, well, now you're an adult and you're gay, that should be like illegal, right? Like there are still gay people. You know, there are certain,
in that sense, it doesn't change much to me.
Like there are a ton of environmental factors that influence people having type 2 diabetes, especially related to diet, but we don't withhold insulin from them because they made poor eating choices, right? So,
yeah, it's just that that's a bit maybe like I will appeal basically to like my personal experience in that regard. It might be a little bit like too much information for some, I guess, but not to go into like gory details, but I was like sexually abused as a child. So because of that, when I was growing up, I was very not disgusted, I guess is the strong word, but I was very stressed about like looking like a more like a woman, as like growing up, because it attracted attention of men, on the streets and stuff like that, and it like attracted attention that I was like not comfortable with, and I felt like very, I don't know, like grossed out, I guess you could say, by like feminine, what appears to be like feminine traits, right? And I think it has to do with like sexual abuse shit, but I fine now completely, I like being a woman and stuff, but at the time it was like a problem for me. So I would like, I don't know how to explain it without being cringe, but I was like young, a teenager. I would like fantasize about being a dude, and I thought like how my life would be much better if I was like a boy or something. That maybe that thing would not happen. Although it's stupid because boys get sexually abused as well by men and women, and it's But I thought that maybe it wouldn't be like that, right?
Sure.
So so I think. I'm not saying it could have happened. I had no idea like about trans stuff at the time, but I do think that a girl like that could be easily like, not easily, but swayed.
This is
like,
kind of like one of the things that I talk about a lot is that like I kind of wonder today if we something I bring up a lot. Wait, how old are you again? Actually, wait, actually, it doesn't even matter because you're in Ukraine, so your social standards might be completely different. In the United States, something that I noticed was that in the 90s and in the 2000s, gender norms were super blown open for men and women. There was a lot more space to occupy as a man or a woman, and different things you could be. Tomboys and girl next doors got really popular. Metrosexual men started to be very popular. Even though some men were taking on more effeminate traits, like taking care of their appearance, or some women were taking on more masculine traits, like being mechanics or whatever the fuck, they were still very clearly like men and women. It seems like from 2013 onwards, we shattered a lot of those expanded gender norms, and now instead they've gotten very narrow, and now if you occupy certain spaces, now you're like trans. So something that I wonder...
Yeah, I don't like that,
I don't know if it's true or not, and this is all just bullshit conjecture, but I wonder today if there would have been a lot of people that were tomboys in the 90s, or like effeminate men in the 90s, if they would have grown up in the 2010s, would they be trans instead? Would that be a good thing? Would that be a bad thing?
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Yeah. So basically what I meant is like not only I was like grossed out by me, me looking like more feminine, but I was also like this.
I'm gonna need to go, but hope you enjoyed the stream. Please follow this channel, blah blah blah, and have a nice day. Bye bye.